I don't have a ton to say about this guy because he showed what he was worth last year. And if you watched last year, you're going to remember this name in Alexei Haimosalmi. I can hear Gord saying his name in my head right now because he was out on the ice very often for Finland. He was playing over 20 minutes a game. And maybe you'll remember him as the first goal scorer for Finland in that 3-2 gold medal game for Canada. He logged a lot of minutes last year, so I kind of have a theme going on here that I like picking defensemen because they become the story really when you think about Olen Zellweger last year and a couple other guys that recent years. It's just you need this defenseman in the World Juniors who's going to play 23 plus minutes for you, who's going to be in the power play, who's going to be on the penalty kill, who's going to do a lot, and that's Haimosalmi in my mind. Leading into this tournament, he's going to be my guy to watch.
Yeah, definitely a good name to pick there. As soon as you said, you can hear Gord saying his name, I thought the same thing because that's all you can hear. When you've got some players who tear it up, I feel like the broadcasters kind of latch onto that and go from there. But yeah, for sure, good pick. Harp, any thoughts on this player before I bring up mine?
Well, just that, I like the approach of going with a lot of defensemen. I agree they become the story of this tournament because, as we've seen over these last few years here, it's all offense now, and the guys are just so skilled at creating offense, and
everyone can score.
Yeah, exactly.
That's why you're at this tournament. So
exactly, and so there's a lot on these defensemen to stop these guys, and he'll be a big part of the blue line for the Finns for sure.
I will say, speaking of Finland, I'll be missing Topi Niemela and Roni Hirvonen this year. Two Maple Leafs prospects. Hirvonen was the captain at the last tournament, so it's a big loss to be missing those two players, but it is what it is. You have to move on. They're real prospects now. So
Haimosalmi last year, 7 points in 7 games for this team, a lot of apples, and it's just he feeds guys from the point, and that's why he's on the ice so much. Not only can he shut guys down, but he chips in offensively. And I think Finland might actually need that this year on the back end, maybe more than ever.
Yeah, for sure. The player that I want to bring up, speaking of Finland, and I think Casey already knows who I'm going to talk about, maybe Harper does too, is Brad Lambert. This is a guy I've latched onto and I've been talking about for years now because he's another player who, he kind of has something to prove. He always has something to prove to the doubters. He slipped and fell in the draft. Last draft, and he was at one time projected to go 1 or 2, and then he was projected to go mid-round, and then he ended up falling to 30th overall to Winnipeg, and he looked great in preseason. He almost made the Jets.
Yep.
He was that good. I don't remember his stats from preseason. I'm sure if I looked hard enough I could find them, but he was really good, and I remember almost gloating on Instagram talking about how I was right, how this player is so good, and I can't believe so many teams passed on him, yada yada.
You almost Zadina'd it.
Exactly. But I didn't. I was very careful and sort of, I was more respectful in that sense. And I was like, hey, listen, this player has a lot of talent. It probably makes sense to send him down to the AHL, even though he was so good in preseason. Well, things haven't gone that well in the American League this year to start for Brad Lambert. He has just 3 points in 14 games. And, for an offensively minded player playing in the second best league in North America, you would expect him to, hopefully produce more than that. And he hasn't. So I think last year or in August's tournament, the thing that he had to prove was, hey, listen, I shouldn't have gone 30th overall. I should have gone higher. Now, in this year's tournament, the thing he has to prove is kind of the same thing, but at the same time, he just has to prove to his team now that he was worth the pick. So he's not trying to prove to everybody else that he was, deserving of a higher pick. He's trying to prove to Winnipeg that they did make the right pick. So I think there's something to be said about that. There's a storyline about Brad Lambert going in. He has to produce. He will be relied on to play heavy offensive minutes for this team. And, I'm just hoping for his sake, for Winnipeg's sake, for my sake, for the sake of everybody who, is in the analytics community and is high on this player, I hope that he has a good tournament because, I think there's a good player there, and it's just whether or not he's able to show it at this tournament. I think that's what it's about. So yeah, Brad Lambert is my player to watch.
Yeah, there's two guys on this list of forwards that I expect to be, driving the offense for this team. I hope that because I passed up on him, I hope Harp, and you passed up on him, I hope Harp is going to take the other one. But Brad Lambert is sort of the skillful playmaker out of the two that I'm going to be watching on this team, and I think the other one's more of the shooter. So yeah, Lambert's got he's always going to have that chip on his shoulder, and I hope that he really takes it out on all the guys his age.
Yeah, and once again, I feel like the focus is back on Shane Wright and Brad Lambert, the guys that were supposed to go 1 and 2 in the last draft. And Lambert obviously fell, and Shane Wright only fell, 3 spots from number 1. But they both have something to prove. Yeah. It's been a struggle for Wright at the NHL level. He's shown some good stuff in the American Hockey League. Now he's the captain, has a chance with Canada to really take that next step. But with Brad Lambert, man, all the tools are there. Unbelievable skater. The guy absolutely flies up and down the ice. I just think that confidence has been an issue with him and just some stuff mentally there with the pressure and everything. But now he can look forward to a full tournament on a decent Finland team and really show his stuff again and prove to be a steal for the Winnipeg Jets at 30. I still cannot believe that he fell that far. I swore he was going to the New York Islanders to join his uncle Lane, but
and also the Islanders had already made a pick like that in Atu Ratti.
That's right.
So another player projected to go first overall who fell because they saw some potential there. Yeah. And I had Lambert in my top 10. You guys know that. So, the talent is there. It's just about putting it together. And, man, when you look up and down this roster, offensively anyway, it's him. He's one of the guys.
For sure.
In case I think you're going to talk about another one here, but he's one of the guys who will be relied on very heavily to produce offensively. And if he doesn't, the team kind of goes the way he does. If he doesn't produce, the team won't be good, and it's that simple for Team Finland.
So for me, Case teed it up there. I'm going to take the low-hanging fruit for the first time here, and Joachim Kemmel is who I'm going to talk about.
He was a top 5 player last year.
Yes. Yeah, and I feel like this is a guy that kind of fell into the Nashville Predators' laps at the draft.
Where did he go? 17 or something?
Yeah,
it was late.
Something like that.
17?
Yeah, 17. Nice. He fell, and for Nashville's sake, and I know I always bring it back to how they're going to impact the team, but Nashville's had a tough time drafting forwards, and we just saw that with Eli Tolvanen being claimed off waivers by the Seattle Kraken.
That was dumb. Familiar player. Yeah. With the likes of Kemmel. This is how we talked about it.
That was dumb
back in the days.
Well, exactly. Here's a Finnish player, and Tolvanen was great for Finland at the World Juniors. But here's another Finnish winger who's got some size. He can score, and he should be able to go out and just light it up, be that trigger man on the power play, and also be able to score off the rush with that shot. So I hope for his sake, for Finland's sake, and for David Poile and the Nashville Predators that Kemmel goes out and has just a rockin' tournament for the Finns.